Good morning. For those who don't know me, or those online who probably definitely don't know me, my name is Peter Cranwell, and together with Rachel and Cara, will assist Anne McGarry in worship this morning. We welcome everyone present, in particular a couple of visitors we have this morning from Mundalla, Patricia and Berkeley Evans. Welcome, and I believe we're going to look forward to your presence for quite a while. This, of course, is our first 9:15 service this year, and already we feel like we're halfway through the year. But that's also why there are a few vacant seats, and I'm sitting here, and so if I sort of twitch my head a bit this morning, that's why. We can have a chinwag this morning, but we can't have a cup of tea or coffee. That's still not on the cards. But I encourage you to have that chinwag in a COVID-safe way. I also, besides welcoming those new to us today, welcome those who are online. It's nice to know that you were there. In fact, in our prayers this morning, we heard of a couple, or at least one lot that are looking at us from America. It's quite amazing that can happen, and it's a blessing, I think, that we all should just understand is happening outside of this space. The Christ candle is lit. It symbolises the presence of Christ with all of us, wherever we are. This candle sits upon its holder, gifted to us by the local Kaurna people, who have walked this land for thousands of years, and their relationship with the land has been at the centre of their lives. So today we acknowledge them, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, emerging, for their stewardship of this land through the ages. And as always, a big thanks to all that have spent time in the preparation and presentation of this time of worship. It only occurs because of your efforts, and you are appreciated. We're going to start this morning with a community time. I've already mentioned that there's no tea and coffee, and Council think that'll probably continue for the rest of this month, but it's a moving topic really, COVID. And talking about which, I need to let those of you who don't know that Michael, our minister, has COVID. And so that has required some people to, over and above just Michael and Karen, to isolate. So we keep them in our prayers. We understand that this is a troubling time, and suddenly when it hits in our own presence, it seems a little bit more real. Just want to assure you that there has been a clean done already of the areas where Michael's been. So thanks in particular to Russell and his daughter for doing that. We appreciate those sorts of efforts that are going on behind the scenes. Now currently there's a farewell planned for Jackie between the services next Sunday. That may or may not happen, of course, because Jackie's one of those who's a close contact to Michael, so we might end up having some sort of, Tim, it could be some Zoom generated, what you call it, but we will do something to recognise the service that Jackie has given us over the years. And those who want to contribute to a going away gift, if you haven't already done it, please pass an envelope marked, it was to Michael / Jackie, I don't know. If you put for Jackie, that's probably the best thing, and we will gather that and sort something out. Also next week, there's a long-awaited church picnic going to happen. This has been on the cards for a while. It's been suggested quite a number of times, and so thanks to the work of Bonnie, we're going to meet at the main oval in National Park. You can either pay the $12 to get in and go and sort of park your car at the oval, or if you want to, you can park in the in the golf club sort of precinct there, where you park and just walk through the fence and walk to the spot. It's up to you. It's going to be at the same time as Messy Church is normally held. Now, Messy Church was supposed to be today, but we've cancelled that due to COVID. And so we thought maybe the picnic would be a great thing to have. It's out in the open, and those people who only involvement with this church is at Messy Church can come along to that, bring their kids. So it's a BYO of everything, but the main thing is we gather and have some fun for a couple of hours, so I hope to see you there. Any questions that aren't answered in the newsletter, perhaps have a chat to Bonnie afterwards. Just another reminder, there's a bowl there for any retiring offerings to the Tonga appeal. We understand that we've already given money and this is replenishing, topping that up. I don't know how much has been given. It's probably quite a bit by now. It's been going on for... Is that 10 to... Is that $1,200 already? So far, yeah. So that, which is wonderful. Now, are there any more notices that people want to give?
I'd just like to let you know that Karis and I went to Port Lincoln a few weeks ago, and we went to church there, and that's a very lively church, and they've heard of Blackwood, which is marvellous. But that was also the church where one of the young people, she must have been about 19, went from Port Lincoln to Africa to set up a school for orphan children. And Fiona was her name, and she was just dynamic in terms of generating that money for it, people to go and help build it and so on. It's now functioning, and some of us in this congregation do support it. We were pleasantly surprised to meet Fiona's mother, who I think must be, Fiona and her daughter must have the same energy and to go about raising money and keeping this going. Well, she's working over there. The church is a generate church, if you understand all the differences between the churches, but they didn't seem too dyed in the wool, if I don't want to make too many comments, but they preached about cooperation and working together and so on. So we felt very comfortable there. So I just wanted to bring their greetings to you.
I should say about the money for Tonga, some people have been confused that they're giving money to sit in the bank on the budget line. Every single cent that you have given in the last 3 weeks will be going to Tonga. Half of it's gone now. It's not that you're giving money that we keep in the bank. It's just that we topped that. Oh, it's a bit confusing because it sounds as though you are giving money to sit in the bank, but we do have a balance in the bank that we give straight away, and then, as Peter said, I'm not sounding very clear, but I just noted there was some confusion last week. Don't worry, every cent you give will go to the right place.
Today, Anne will be considering various cool stories from the Bible. So the word cool is something that you'll be able to grab hold of and focus on in all the things that we do. We'll consider the potential that Jesus sees in us, in his church, in our ability to be creative part of his work, all these generations after his initial ministry. We will reflect on our own calls according to our gifts and our talents. It's planned to allow times of silence and contemplation through the worship time. You can stand or you can remain seated for songs. You can sing or just be contemplative about it. But we've got to do all of that in a COVID-safe manner, as I know that you're aware. Please immerse yourself in this time. Let's pray. God of life, there are days when the burdens we carry are heavy on our shoulders and weigh us down. When the road seems dreary and endless, the skies grey and threatening, when our lives have no music in them, our hearts are lonely, our souls losing their courage. Flood the path with light, turn our eyes to where the skies are full of promise, tune our hearts to brave music. So quicken our spirits that we may be able to encourage the souls of all who journey with us on the road of life to your honour and glory.
Come as you are, that's how I want you. Come as you are, feel quite at home, close to my heart, loved and forgiven. Come as you are, why stand alone? No need to fear, love sets no limits. No need to fear, love never ends. Don't run away, shamed and disheartened. Rest in my love, trust me again. I came to call sinners, not just the righteous. I came to bring peace, not to condemn. Each time you fail to live by my promise, why do you think I'd love you the less? Come as you are, that's how I love you. Come as you are, trust me again. Nothing can change the love that I bear you. All will be well, just come as you are.
We have children. We have children. Children, do you want to come up the front and we'll have a little chat? Have you ever been fishing? Twice. 4 times. Hand line, rod and reel, hooks and bait or lures. You've been fishing? Yes, it's fun. When I was a kid like you, we used to go to Kangaroo Island. I don't know if you've ever been there. Yes, lovely place. We used to go there every summer for our holidays, and we caught lots of fish. Peter Cranwell tells me these days you can't catch lots of fish on Kangaroo Island. We used to fish from our boat, fish from reefs, from rivers. Where have you fished from? At the beach or on the... on the jetty? You been fishing? Yep. Fish are in lots of places. But can you think about fishing from a jetty? Imagine you've been there fishing from the jetty since breakfast and now it's lunchtime and you haven't caught a single fish. You haven't even caught some weed. Someone comes along and asks if you've caught anything. This person looks friendly and kind, so you answer them, no, not even a bite. The person says to you, if you throw your line in on the other side of the jetty, I bet you'll catch plenty of fish. You'll catch so many that Mum and Dad will be able to feed all of you tonight on lovely fresh fish and give some away. And you think to yourself, is this person silly? But you try it because you like the person. And the fish bite, and you catch them, lots of them, enough to feed your whole family for dinner and give lots away. The person says to you, will you do something for me? You think about it. After all, he's done something rather wonderful for you. And you say, yes. What do you want me to do? This is what happened when Jesus asked his first disciples to follow him. They did, even though it must have felt very strange. And I'm not saying you should talk to people you don't know, but Jesus was what's called charismatic, which means he was a leader. People trusted him. They liked him. They listened to him and did what he says. Not even when what he says might seem ridiculous. And this is what we're going to be talking about in church today. Some of what we're going to be talking about, and I think it's what you're looking at in your activities. Sticking fish and people on boats and things. Think about it while you're doing it, and towards the end of the service, I might ask you to come and show us what you've done, because we'd love to see what you've done. Okay? Thanks, guys.
Anne asked me to share a cool story. I have many, as I imagine you all have, but I chose this one because you're part of it. I don't know how good your memory is, but in 2019 you may have seen this slide in a presentation I made to the congregation as we started the Forward with Purpose journey. Since then, quite a lot has been happening. More is planned, as together we seek fresh ways to express ourselves as a congregation, and by so doing become a more flourishing, engaged and connected group with the community around us. But how and why did that happen? Got to go back a bit, and to some extent this is your fault. In 2015, you asked me to be your representative on the Urban Mission Network. At the time, it was a collective of representatives from quite a number of congregations whose aim was to encourage each other in ministry, in mission, share resources and provide mutual support. I accepted your call. Then, over the next 2 years, I went to every one of the meetings and all the extra bits and pieces that they sort of invited you to, and I saw that there were some recurring themes that came through to me from that involvement, and they were the regeneration, the potential regeneration of congregations through more engagement and relevance to our local communities, and associated with that, the regeneration of buildings and assets to assist in that work. Time and again, as I listened to various people speak on these subjects, I truly felt in my heart that was a call to me and to you. But how could I convey all that I'd heard over 2 years, all the things that I'd read over 2 years? I decided to put it down in a document titled A Way Forward, and that I shared with Council. This enabled me to not just show potential actions, but gave background and explanation for people to consider. It took me over 12 months to write it. I'm pretty slow. But with the assistance of some of you and some others, it was completed. This, I felt, was another call. It was from this document that the Forward with Purpose presentation mentioned there was made. All of these calls were quite real to me. They didn't come through supernatural revelations, but rather through the words and actions of people around me, just like all of you. And my hope and prayer is that all of us allow ourselves to be agents of call through our words and actions in everything that we do. Rachel and Cara will lead us in prayer.
Prayer of confession. Inviting God in the midst of our business, as usual, you come close.
You draw us in and invite us to go deep.
You assure us that in the deep places we will find new life in abundance.
You ask us to trust and to take risks.
To cast ourselves fully in the depths of community,
where we will find our true selves and be empowered to serve.
we hear your invitation. We do not always respond in faith.
Because of fear, habit, and closed hearts, we hold back and do not follow your lead.
When we recognize how we have fallen short, we can be tempted to run away.
What you offer is what we need, yet we often reject your love with negative self-talk and resistance.
Search us again, love of our hearts.
And may we be mindful of who we are in your love.
So together we become all you create us to be.
Words of affirmation. When we call one who is all love answers and gives us strength for our weariness. Though we fall short, love draws near to us again and again, bringing us out of our fear and resistance and into our calling as reflections of Christ. We have strength for the task and love for the journey. This is our good news today. Thanks be to God. The Bible reading this morning comes from Luke chapter 5, verse 1 to 15. And you might notice that there's no Mandarin version been happening for a few weeks. We're hopeful that will change fairly soon. So today it's just me. One day, Jesus was on the beach at Lake Galilee. There was a crowd hanging on his every word, eager to hear God's message. And he was getting a bit cramped for space as they pressed in around him. He spotted a couple of fishing boats pulled up on the beach, so he went, spoke with the crew who was scrubbing down the fishing tackle at the end of their shift. The skipper of one of the boats, a man named Simon, agreed to put his boat out a few metres off the beach and let Jesus continue teaching the people from the bow of the boat. When he had finished speaking to the crowd, Jesus said to Simon, "How about some fishing? Head offshore and we'll put the nets down for a catch." Simon said, "Look here, boss. We've been busting the gut out there all night, and what have we caught? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But hey, if you say put the nets down, you're the boss, I'll put the nets down." Well, you wouldn't read about it. They had the most unbelievable catch, more fish than their nets could handle. They called for help from their mates in the other boat, but the size of the catch weighed down both boats so low that they're beginning to take on water over the sides. Simon Peter just looked at Jesus and sank to his knees. "Don't come near me, Lord," he said. "Leave me alone. I'm a godless sort of a monger and I can't handle the company of the likes of you." He and all his mates were completely unnerved by what had happened because they knew that this was no natural catch of fish. James and John, Simon's partners who ran the other boat for their father Zebedee, were feeling exactly the same way. But Jesus said to Simon, "Don't worry. There's no need to panic. If you think that was really something, just wait. From now on, you'll be bringing in people, not fish." They pulled their boats back up onto the beach and left them where they lay. They turned their backs on everything and followed Jesus. I invite Bonnie to come up and share another cool story.
Good morning. I've got a few points in my life where it seemed like a calling, but the one that I feel is quite significant for me was in university. Since I was 12, I had thought I wanted to be a teacher growing up, and my whole direction through high school was towards becoming a teacher. And so I entered a specific university that was known for its education program, went in that direction. And in the course of trying to be accepted in their education faculty, I was essentially rejected for various reasons. It was kind of encouraged, go take another few years, grow up a little bit, and then come back, because I'd gone straight from high school. Regardless, I had a bit of a breakdown. I went, what am I meant to do if it's not to be a teacher? Where am I meant to be with people, in a career? I felt completely lost. There was one night where I cried and cried and cried and cried out to God, like, show me something here. And at the time, I was also volunteering with a literacy program, and we would meet with kids and read books with them and these sorts of things. And at one point, I was working around that time. I was doing a book stall with another one of the volunteers, and I told her about how my attempts to get into the education faculty had been rerouted. And she said, "Oh, the same thing happened to me. And I found my way into social work." And in that same day that we were sitting at the table, she also had some reason to go up to the social work faculty office. And at the time, she grabbed an application to the faculty for me, brought it to me while we were sitting at this book stall volunteering, Gave it to me. I looked at the application. It seemed pretty full on because I needed to do a resume. I needed to write an essay about why I thought I should be admitted, and I needed to provide 2 references. And the date was a week later that it was due. And I was a bit intimidated, but I thought, whatever, I'll throw it together, I'll do what I can, and if this comes together, then that is providing me a way. Like, this random person who I didn't really have an established relationship with, offering me something possible, felt like an opportunity that I needed to take. And so I filled in the application, wrote my essay, got my resume together, requested some references, and they managed to send them off at the right time. And then I had to wait months before I could get in. And I did hear that I got into the faculty a couple of months later. And so I got all excited about filling in my courses and things. And as soon as I started taking those courses, it felt so at home. This was where I was meant to be. And I had missed some of the differences in teaching that weren't right for my way of relating to people at the time. And social work was just this better fit. And it was amazing because I'd never once considered it. I didn't think about social work. And this was very much to me a calling, a directing through spirit and opportunity being put out in front of me. So that was lovely.
Thank you, Bonnie. That's fantastic. For the reflection in the newsletter this week, I looked up meanings of the words call and calling. Some of the definitions of call from non-biblical dictionaries are naming, making a loud noise to get attention, telephoning, or visiting. A call can be a noun or a verb. The definition from a theological dictionary says, and this is a bit wordy, this prominent biblical term is used with particular theological significance in 3 ways: in connection with worship, with election, and with vocation. Now, I always think of call as being called to do something or to be something. In the reading, we have Jesus calling fishers to be his disciples. Those who have been fishing and caught nothing and are cleaning the nets prior to packing up, for some reason go out again and catch so many fish they think the boats will capsize. Jesus shows them where the fish are, lots of fish. A miracle, a large miracle. Is this a leader worth following? The fishers must have thought so, for that is what they do immediately. Do we follow a call immediately, intuitively, or do we think about it? Does it seem strange? Has it come out of the blue? Or does it come upon us slowly? And when we look back on it, what do we remember? And what has responding or not responding done in our lives? We've heard from Peter Cramwell about his call to work towards Buck moving forward with a sense of purpose. We've heard from Bonnie being rejected to become a teacher and feeling that she had no purpose in life until she met somebody she didn't know very well who suggested she try social work. And she found that the perfect fit for her. That reminds me of, I had a call. I wanted to go back to university, but I didn't know what to study. I'd never finished my undergraduate degree. And this little voice in my head said, psychology. I had never in my whole life ever considered doing psychology. But I did, and I was actually really good at it. And instead of going into being a psychologist, I went into research, which I loved. So calls are funny things. And I think it's worth noting that the other readings for today are also about calls, about different human reactions to calls. The reading from Isaiah reports that the prophet felt impure, too impure to be in the presence of the Holy One. The situation is remedied by a seraph, and when the voice of the Holy One says, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Isaiah responds, "Here am I, send me." Calls can go the other way, us calling on God. In Psalm 138, David calls upon the Holy One, knowing that the Holy One will respond to him in his time of need. In his letter to the Corinthians, Paul reminds the people that they have responded to the call to believe and need to keep responding to that call in their lives if they seek salvation. They belong to a community which came into being when Jesus called those first disciples. Paul also speaks of his call on the road to Damascus. So the reading we're focusing on today is the one from Luke, the calling of the first disciples by Jesus. "Come, and I will make you fishers of people." Prior to this, Jesus has stayed in Simon Peter's house and healed his sick mother-in-law. So Peter knows him. I think Peter finds the healing of his mother-in-law and the catching of multitudinous fish miraculous and therefore rather frightening. He wonders who this man is, and he certainly feels unworthy, too ordinary for Jesus to be interested in him. Similar to the way Isaiah feels, really. Ordinary, unworthy, just like the rest of us humans. Those of you who have read or seen the movies The Lord of the Rings will remember Frodo at the meeting in Rivendell when Elrond tells the assembled group that the Ring of Power cannot stay hidden but must be destroyed in Mount Doom. Frodo responds by saying, "I will go." In the film, he's not heard because everyone else is arguing loudly. So Gandalf silences them. Frodo says, "I will go, but I do not know the way." Do you find receiving a call like that? Okay, I'll do it, but I don't know how. Each individual in the group at Rivendell has heard Elrond's call to take the ring to Mount Doom and destroy it. And each individual except Frodo has responded by arguing with those around them about what is the best thing to do, rather than destroying this evil object. Frodo alone understands Elrond's call and some of its possible ramifications. We know of people who have accepted such calls and paid with their lives. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who refused to obey Nazi instructions to remake the German church as they wanted it to be, to remake God in their image, and was killed just days before the Allies liberated the prison where he was. He wrote about costly grace, the cost of even to your death, and grace because it is Jesus you are following. Martin Luther King Jr., in the civil rights movement, had to come to understand the danger he was in, and he accepted it. He knew he could be killed. Oscar Romero was Archbishop of San Salvador. He refused to stand down. He refused to stop serving his people, despite knowing that both the church and the government were against what he was doing. He was assassinated as he was celebrating Mass in the chapel of the Divine Providence Cancer Hospital where he lived. Peacemakers, whistleblowers can answer calls which change their lives completely. And it's possible Jesus answered such a call when John baptized him. Fortunately, most calls do not involve such sacrifice, although they can require big changes in our lives. I've received some calls in my life, and the ones which I remember well have all had positive results for me. A call to be baptised as a young teenager. As I said before, a call to study psychology. A call from me to the Holy One in the words of a hymn, "Take my life and let it be, consecrated, Lord, to thee." And a call to come back to church. A call to find Jesus, to understand and accept myself. Maybe these calls are not separate, but all part of one big call, different parts of the one journey. I like to think of them as flows of a river through its delta to the sea, the vast, gloriously coloured ocean of the Holy One's love. Have you seen my hexaptic in the church foyer? It's a painting in 6 parts, telling a story. It's more narrative art and art therapy than paintings of places, of people or objects. It's about feelings, about emotions. And I wanted to hang it in the church now because I want you all to know how important it has been for me to respond to the calls I've received, and how important you have all been to what I tried to express in the last of those paintings. You accepted me when I came, damaged, searching and struggling. You let me be me, whoever that was. I'd tried to deflect the call to come back to church, feeling I'd be judged and found inadequate, feeling I'd be expected to believe certain things, to stick to certain ways of behaving that I didn't agree with. But none of that happened. I'd read the words above the entrance to the church, and you lived up to them. And you have helped me find out who I am, to be that person, and to heal. Calls can be so diverse, calls to do, calls to be. We can respond to them positively or negatively. We can dive straight in or we can be hesitant. Often we don't have much of an idea of where they will lead or understand the difficulties we might encounter, or indeed the rewards that might come. A call may make us feel inadequate, not good enough, or that it's just too hard, like Isaiah and the people Paul wrote to in Corinth. One thing I do know is when we receive a call, the Holy One provides what we need to respond positively and to continue along that path. If we fail, it is not because the Holy One fails us. At such times, it's important to remember that we all have free will, We may fail because we exercise our own free will, or because other people exercise their free will. We may wish we'd never started out to do or be what we felt called to do or be. To feel like Frodo before he left the Shire, when Gandalf showed him the One Ring and he understood its power and danger. Frodo says, "I wish it need not have happened in my time." Gandalf replies, "So do I, and so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us." A call seeks a response, and the Holy One provides. Like Isaiah, like Simon Peter, we're human. We make mistakes. We fall short. Like Frodo, we may wish this wasn't up to us. We'd rather not be involved. We're happy just doing what we're doing. What we're called to do or be will probably not change the world, not change behaviour or opinions, but it may. But it's likely that it will change us in the way the Holy One wants for us. And that is a very good thing. Amen.
I'm a lord of sea and sky. I have heard
draws us into what may seem unlikely choices and calls us in unexpected ways. Maybe you have been called by God and didn't recognise it as such. I ask you to close your eyes and think of such a time. Remember how it felt. Be reminded that God continues to call us every day in many different ways. Look, listen, and be challenged to follow. It is offering time, and we acknowledge that our financial gifts to the life of the church are given here today or online. But we have other gifts that we also bring: our time, our talents, our labour, our stories. Let us pray. May we be prompted to be more expansive and more inclusive as we accept our responsibility to make God's reign visible through gracious generosity. May people see in us the spirit of appreciation, gratitude, and generous self-giving that we have seen in Jesus. Amen.
O deep ministry, vital centre of our lives, we honour your presence in the absence of noise, in the promise of the morning, and in the dancing brightness of the sun.
We are struck in awe before the great mystery of the cosmos. We are powerfully moved by a deep concern for our world and our care for one another. May ours be a faith that is more than words. May ours be the faith of vitality and compassion.
We eliminate that there are many people in the world who are burdened by hunger and pain, by sorrow and anxiety, by violence and loss.
May they find comfort and peace. May the burdens be lifted from them by our actions as peacemakers and doers of justice.
May we find it in ourselves to work towards a better world. May our gratitude find expression in the care of others, both near and far. May we find ways to live and grow on the margins. May we leave behind us a trail of encouragement and hope.
This be our prayer.
This be our prayer.
Amen.
Amen.
Will you come and follow me if I will call your name? Will you go where you don't know and never be the same? Will you let the
As we leave this sacred place, let us be aware we are in a sustaining, life-giving presence, active in our universe since the first moment of its existence. Enfolded in this presence, may we realise that the world of the spirit and the world of the body do not exist alongside one another, but within one another. As the season of Advent has ended and Christmas is over, may we embrace the story of the one called Jesus. Human like us, he discerned where this presence is found. In the everyday, in human interaction, in feeding, in caring, in clothing, in visiting, in sharing, in forgiving, in being neighbour. We remember his total commitment to living fully and loving totally. May we allow his life and teaching to motivate all that we do, so that what we profess to have seen in his life and heard in his teaching might be evident in our living and loving. And may the Holy One bless you and keep you, and may the light of the Holy One shine upon you and grant you peace, now and always. Amen.
Christ, you stand before us all. Christ, you come and Christ, you call. Leave it all behind and join my journey. Come with me and find your life. Give my love and shine my light. Leave it all behind you, come and follow. And you keep calling me, you keep calling me, you keep calling me, come and follow. You keep calling me, you keep calling me, you keep calling me, and I will follow. You beckon us to walk your way, your kingdom come on earth this day, to lose your life yet find it in the rising. Find it in your love for all. Find it in compassion's call. To seek the lost to whom your grace is calling. And you keep calling.